Daniel Siad's name showed up more than 2,000 times in the Epstein files, and now he's dead before police ever question him. The cause sits in the file as unknown, and if that word doesn't make your neck snap upright, the next detail will. See, this story hits one nerve only. Whether connected predators and their protectors can run out the clock until the truth dies with the witnesses. Daniel Siad, I believe is how you pronounce it, faced rape accusations from 5 women. And the victim's lawyer said flat out, "We had been told that he was supposed to be questioned soon." Jamie Raskin and the usual media clerks, they want a fresh paper chase. Normal Americans want the names, the recruiters, the enablers, and the people who kept the machine humming while victims begged for justice. Now, Daniel Siad dies before questioning, and that same rig fog hits millions of families trying to navigate Medicare every enrollment season. Bad plans survive when confusion does, and that's how bad actors and bad policies keep winning. The mailers, the robocalls, the fine print, they feed a Medicare confusion industrial complex. Chapter cuts through it. You see, they're simple by design. It's one call, one advisor. It's free, and it's under 20 minutes. They look at your doctors, look at your prescriptions, your whole situation, and tell you the truth. No propaganda, just facts. You see, they work for you and not big insurance. If you're already on the right plan, they will say so. If not, they can help you switch. Last year, people who found new plans with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. So give them a call. You'll see the number right there on the screen. 910-728-4109. That's 910-728-4109. In a country drowning in cover stories, clarity still matters. Now here's the detail. The gatekeepers cannot bleach out. The victim's own lawyer said that Daniel Siad was supposed to be questioned soon. Put that beside unknown cause, and you can feel the whole rotten machine grinding into view. Another one drops. The French recruiter, whose name appears 2,000 times in the Epstein files, was just found dead. We're going to go now to some of the local French press that we have translated for you so you can hear it in their own voice directly from the source.
We all know that when it comes to sexual violence and crimes as serious as organized human trafficking, preliminary investigations can end up taking a very long time. Here, if you will, this 6-month delay really needs to be viewed in relation to the highly specific nature of this case. As we've seen, there have already been several deaths involved, which, by the way, sometimes occurred as suicides. This is an entirely unique case, and it's specifically because of this sensitive nature that the slow pace of the procedure can be held against the investigators. To answer that, yes, my clients have indeed been interviewed. 7 of them were questioned by investigators from the OCRTEA, which is the Central Office for the Repression of Human Trafficking. There were also supposed to be witnesses coming in to somewhat corroborate the statements from the various plaintiffs. This was all underway, and we had in fact been told that Daniel Siad was supposed to be questioned soon.
Wow. The lawyer confirming that Siad was expected to be questioned. Now prosecutors in France are confirming the basic fact at the center. The Epstein modeling scout found dead. Insider paper posting French modeling scout with links to Epstein found dead, according to prosecutors. Death confirmed. AFP adds just how close he was to Epstein. French modeling scout with close ties, late financier, been found dead at his home outside of Paris, prosecutors said on Wednesday. So the international press locking in. Now comes the part that should set off every alarm bell. His name reportedly appeared more than 2,000 times, and he was never questioned. Another Epstein witness gone. Found dead in his home. Suspected of supplying young girls to Epstein, accused of rape by 5 women. Cause of death unknown. Here is more from the French press, BFM TV.
Indeed. This is a report by Matthias Tesson and Maxime Brandstetter from BFM TV's Police and Justice Department. We are able to confirm this morning that Daniel Siad, one of the key figures in the Epstein case in France, was found dead on Monday at his home in Colombes in the Haute region. An investigation has been opened to determine the cause of death. At this time, the causes of his death remain unknown. As you mentioned, Daniel Siad is a name that has been making headlines for a few months now, ever since the release of the Epstein files by the American Justice Department, because the name of this 69-year-old man appears over 2,000 times in those documents. He was suspected of being one of the recruiters of young girls, of young models for Jeffrey Epstein, the American tycoon. And for a few months now, he himself had been the target of rape accusations by 5 young women. 5 women, including model Ebba Carlson, accused him of rape in the 90s. Paris investigated. Daniel Siad was never questioned, as he is dead and the case is dropped. But in any case, this is important news for the plaintiffs who had been denouncing this man's actions for months.
Do we know more precisely what the nature of his ties with Jeffrey Epstein was?
Well, it's true that he always denied this role as a recruiter. He was the head of a modeling agency. We know he regularly went to that famous apartment on Avenue Foch, which belonged to Jeffrey Epstein. He even admitted it himself. Yes, I was in touch with him. I introduced him to young models, but always left with them. Nothing ever happened, he claimed. I learned of Epstein's atrocities much later. I witnessed nothing. And besides his alleged role as a recruiter, as we said, Daniel Siad, he too was targeted by rape accusations, notably an accusation from Ebba Carlson, the Swedish model, who explained when she was 20 in the 90s, having met this recruiter, this scout as they call them in that business, he invited her to the south of France, and she recounts that under the cover of a false identity because he had not revealed his name to her. At the beginning of their meeting, well, he raped her one night while he was in Cannes. She filed a complaint. It was a complaint that is being examined by the Paris prosecutor's office that was being examined. But as I said, he was never questioned. In spite of this lack of a hearing by the justice system, he had notably spoken to Pauline Revenaz, the head of the Police and Justice Department in May, in an interview during which he asserted his innocence.
So he dies before investigators ever put him in the chair. Cause of death unknown. Next, Todd Blanche says this cannot be another dead-end file and vows there are no closed investigations.
To the victims of this horrible man, we will never not talk to victims. We will never not do everything we can to prosecute anybody that committed any crimes against any of these women. So that narrative is false. We have spoken with over 30 representatives of dozens and dozens of victims since this process started. Any victim, if they're here today, I would encourage them or their lawyers to meet with the FBI. We will 100% investigate. There are no closed investigations. If we learn today, if we learn next week, if we learn next month, that there's an individual that we can investigate, indict, and prosecute out of the Epstein files, you better believe it, we will.
Or they'll just end up dead. So after the promise to keep digging, Democrats are making their move. Jamie Ratskin is now launching his own probe, this time into whether Epstein was acting for foreign interests. CNN reporting this. Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin launching an investigation on whether Jeffrey Epstein acted as an unregistered foreign agent for multiple countries, requesting records from the Trump administration on the scope of the late convicted sex offender's foreign ties. As you know, Vice President J.D. Vance recently appearing on the Joe Rogan show, we covered that here, discussing the international ties that Jeffrey Epstein had to international spy agencies, including Israel. So while House Democrats chase the foreign agent angle, the abuse itself is impossible to ignore. CNN turns to a survivor's account of how Epstein used the Florida Science Foundation as cover to keep targeting girls. This is a sensitive story, so if you have kids in the room, maybe get them out of the room. You're going to hear a first-hand account of a victim right here, right now.
That summer, as Rosa was struggling to book modeling jobs, Epstein made her an offer.
You should come to my office in West Palm Beach or downtown Palm Beach, and you work for me as a secretary. What I was told, all I do is pick up the phone and say, Florida Science Foundation, may I help you?
Unbeknownst to Rosa, Epstein had just pled guilty in Florida to soliciting prostitution from a minor. He was serving jail time on a work release program. The first weekend at Epstein's office, Rosa was asked by another woman to massage Epstein's feet.
He gives me his foot, and I'm looking at his foot, and it has an ankle monitor on. But to me, what it looks like, it has a plastic thing wrapped around his foot with a black box on it with a blinking light, right? And I go, what is this? And he flips around and he goes, take off your shirt. I froze. And the woman comes over and starts unbuttoning my blouse. She takes it off. Then she takes off my bra. And then she walks out. I sat in that room, staring at the bottle of a Fiji water while a man was groping me and masturbating. And then when he was done, he stood up and he left. I couldn't scream. I didn't ask for help. And I thought this was all a dream. I sat back at the table and I answered the phone calls same exact way I did before. I never told any soul about this. I thought I'm going to die if I do.
Rosa says Epstein abused her in Florida every weekend after that. She is still haunted by an...
Very rarely do you hear these accounts, but there you have it. It shows how Epstein built his machine after his guilty plea was already in place. Next, another big name comes back into focus with Bill Gates accused of ignoring warnings from his own staff to stay away. Daily Mail reports Bill Gates ignored warnings from multiple Gates Foundation employees to avoid Jeffrey Epstein, an external review has found. So he's back under the microscope despite years of media protection. Now the story takes an even darker turn, as a Chinese commentator suggests the full unredacted Epstein files may be out there, claims that China has access to them.
Dictate to the United States or even to order around how the US troops need to be deployed. And allow me to make one point. I think it is right now the high time to expunge the evil as represented by Jeffrey Epstein and whoever who is with him. Now, this is a very important point. I do not want to go into further details. I think the evil as represented by Jeffrey Epstein need to be fully expunged in the world, including in the relations between Israel and the United States.
Does China have the files?
Well, eventually everything needs to come out to the sun. Let's wait.
Okay. I like that kind of strategic ambiguity.
Wow. Just wait, he says. So if the files exist in full, a lot of powerful people have a reason to panic. Next, Fox shows never-before-seen footage from Epstein's private island, putting viewers inside the place survivors say that the abuse happened. Here we go. Inside the Epstein island. Looks like this was apparently taken by an artist who worked on the island for about 4 years. Ian Nicola. Now, there's a YouTuber my son brought to my attention. And they went to Epstein's island and during a hurricane and stayed on the island overnight in one of Epstein's villas. And literally running around with like 7 cameras. You should check that out. If you really want to see what it's like on Epstein's island, these guys went to the temple. They went all over. They went through the cupboards. They went through the offices. I mean, they went deep. Now, this is how Epstein's Island looked during probably 2015 or so. And when those kids went there during a hurricane, it was mostly emptied out. But you still get an idea of the scope. So Jeffrey Epstein did not build this network alone. Daniel Siad's death before questioning slams that truth right through the last flimsy excuse. When a man named over 2,000 times in the files, accused by 5 women, dies with an unknown cause just before investigators got to him, the protection racket around Jeffrey Epstein stops looking lazy, starts looking deliberate. So keep your eye on the one fact that nobody can spin away. Daniel Siad was supposed to be questioned soon. Now the French recruiter tied to Epstein more than 2,000 times is gone. Never questioned. Case effectively sealed by death. That's not closure. That is obstruction by corpse. While CNN props up Jamie Raskin for another foreign agent detour, the Trump administration has the right posture on this through Todd Blanche. There are no closed investigations. Good, so prove it. Crack open every file. Drag every recruiter, every billionaire friend into daylight, and stop treating elite predators like a protected species. If you're sick of watching bureaucrats, media fixers, and celebrity money men smother the story, then send this report to somebody who still thinks Epstein was just a one-man scandal. So Daniel Siad's unknown death is exactly the kind of story that the censors love to muffle. And our White House team is pushing harder tonight. So text White House to 844-840-4963. Next News Network is credentialed inside the building, and we send nightly reports straight from the White House to your phone before YouTube buries the feed.